and down, just walking. The point is we have to exercise caution and restraint, and we have to say to our young men, exercise caution and restraint. Do not get caught up with certain personalities who may have some ulterior motives. It can cause great embarrassment for the country. And I don't think we can afford that at this time. And the President of the United States, he has put tariffs in place. The trade war is on, and we will feel some effects from it relating to exports from the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. But the thing is that you have other nations that are looking out for their own interests. And I think we have to look out for our own interests also, which means that the government of the Bahamas has to take appropriate action. That is essential to help the Bahamian people to move forward. That is what you expect from the government. That is what I expect from the government. I don't expect them to just sit there and do nothing. I heard the remarks made by the Prime Minister yesterday, and they are having talks with U.S. authorities and also regional authorities. That's fine, but nothing specific has really come to the fore, except that there may be discussions, and I think it is good to have discussions, but then some hard decisions have to be made about things we used to do in the past. We have to make some changes. And sometimes people don't want change. They think what they're doing is right. And actually, you're damaging your country. When you be so strong-headed, you're not prepared to make the necessary corrections that are essential to move the country forward. So people are concerned about the high cost of living. And the Prime Minister himself said electricity is one of the major factors contributing to the high cost of living. Of course, I know the government has had some agreements with some other personalities and groupings that are going to be providing electricity services to the Bahamian people. We'll have to see how this pans out. I don't know where BEC fits into this or BPL. I don't hear too much about the two of them, but you hear about some other companies that have been formed to provide energy for the Bahamian people on the island of New Providence and also in the family island. So we will see how that goes because you have a number of entities now involved in providing electricity for the Bahamian people. We also had where the lights were off quite a while. Well, they said virtually half of the island went off. The unfortunate thing about when the lights were off, the phones were off. I don't know whose idea it was to connect the two of them together. But I remember when the storms were on in recent times, we were able to call into the family island. Lines were up, working, but now you have a situation in event of an emergency, lines are down because your electricity is off. You are not able to make a call in the event of an emergency. And it would be good for them to rethink this because you say you're supposed to be improving. It is a setback for the Bahamian people to have the lights off and the phones off at the same time. That doesn't make any sense. See, you have to show me where it makes sense. To me, it doesn't make any sense at all. An emergency can come up, and I want to say I was pleased with the emergency I had just this past week, just a few days ago, one of my relatives. And I must say, the ambulance people were very prompt, very quick. Looked like they had a brand new ambulance. And I heard someone say there are only two that are waking. And a relative had to be taken to the hospital. And these things, like I say, they occur at a time when you least expect it. I'm going to advise Bahamians, you must always be ready to move positively in the event of an emergency. It could take just a few seconds, a few minutes, and either it could be for the benefit of the person affected or for their detriment. Let's hope it's for their benefit. And I found out that Bahamian people, they're very slow when it comes to an emergency. They're not quick. I remember when one of my nephews had a problem, and I happened to be right there on the scene, and I was able to move very quickly to steady him, call the ambulance, get him ready, and bang, the ambulance came and they took him away. So you are going to find that there are going to be circumstances that would occur, which would be beyond your control. You didn't expect it. I didn't expect it, but this incident occurred this same week, just a couple of days ago. But you never know when something is going to happen. It just happens, Bahamians. You don't plan these things, but you have to be ready to move when an emergency comes on, because Bahamians, it could be a matter of life and death. And some of you are extremely slow in responding when an emergency arises. And some of you got all these things on your phones and you don't know. You get your phone all blocked up and someone trying to reach you in the event of emergency can't reach you. And then tragedy strikes. We had a project incident, I think, on Peter Street, by the way, where it was reported. I heard on the news about 2 or 3 times it came on the news. Another male has been murdered. And Bahamians, I don't think we're paying much attention to the large number of males who are being destroyed in this country. 1, murders taking them out. 2, accidents on the street taking them out. 3, drowning deaths. People getting caught in industrial actions, which in some cases have claimed the lives of males in the country. We have seen a dramatic decrease in the number of males in our country. In Bahamians, I'm very unhappy about that because too many of our young males are dying. They're not getting as young as I am. I always tell them that. Listen, you need to get as young as I am. And then when you get as young as I am, there's only one other decision you can make. I'm staying around till the man comes back. It is going to affect national insurance. Do you know that, Bahamians? And we also had one of our prominent citizens just recently died. I think Patricia Nicholas Clinton is deceased. I heard that on the radio. I was very hurt when I heard that. She's been a very strong feature in the country in poetry and some other things that she was doing. And Bahamians, what we need to do is we need to recognize these people while they're alive. Don't wait until they are deceased. Of course, I guess I didn't know whether she was sick or not. I don't know that. But I think we need to give honor where honor is due. Too many times we hold out too long. You might like this one, or they may say something and you get offended over that. And they have a right to their freedom of expression. A lot of you don't seem to understand freedom of expression to impart ideas and opinions without interference. That's in the Constitution. But there are some people who get dead vexed because you express a view and they disagree with that view. They don't want to talk to you anymore. That's not a good attitude to have. You must learn to listen to people. People tell me all kind of funny things. I just sometimes smile and leave it alone. Sometimes it's best not to say anything. You have to exercise wisdom and restraint. Too many of our people are confused. People telling them all kind of different things. Then you got these people who always have God in them. God told me this, God told me that. The Spirit said this, the Spirit said that. And they're entitled to their view. You can hear all kind of religious views, which are not scripturally sound, by the way. Because everything has to be tested by Scripture. And you're going to find that many of those views are not scripturally sound. So you have a lot of garbage out there. And you also, with the Constitution, you're going to find that many views expressed about the Constitution that are not constitutionally sound. 99% of our people do not know this Constitution. But I'm delighted to know, and that's what keeps me going. I'm delighted to know so many of you out there are now taking your Constitution seriously. That's a wonderful thing. You don't know how good that makes me feel. Because I thought I was in a camp by myself several years ago when I started out. And it does take time for people to understand these things. The Constitution is not simple for people to understand. The way how it's written, the legal language is in difficult for people to understand it. It has to be explained to him. The way how they write laws in the House of Assembly, same thing. They put the legal language in there. Someone has to explain it to you who is legally trained. And sometimes they just give you their opinion of the law, but not the law itself. That's another problem that we have in this country. So a lot of you don't understand laws relating to land. You don't understand laws relating to situations that affect you on a daily basis. And so you're confused. One lawyer tell you this, another lawyer tell you that. And then you're between two opinionated personalities. And neither of them is lawfully correct. That's unfortunate. But that's what we have in the country. When it comes to the Constitution, there's a whole host of different colors because they don't know nothing about that. I can tell you that 99% plus of our people don't know this Constitution. So I have a lot of work to do in being able to make sure you know this Constitution so that you can make sound decisions and good judgment. I'm not coming here to tell you anything that is not constitutionally sound. If you ask me a constitutional question and I'm not quite sure of the answer, I will tell you. I have to check that one out. Because some of you have asked me some very sharp, difficult, hard constitutional questions. And there are no easy answers to some of these questions. One has to research, one has to think, one has to make sure you have accurate and precise information, that it is constitutionally sound, based on the Constitution, because they got over 130 something articles in the Constitution, plenty articles. And there's been a lot of misunderstanding, even with statute laws. I haven't even talked about the agreements we have with different nations. You don't even know about those things, but those things have to be brought publicly and explained in simple, basic, fundamental language so that you will know what the government of the Bahamas ought to be doing. An agreement with China. Do you know what that is all about? The agreement with the United States of America, an agreement with that base they have in Andrew. Do you understand the complications of those things? Our arrangement with Canada and then CARICOM. They've signed all kinds of things. The UN, these international bodies. And what these international bodies do is put a lot of pressure on the smaller nation because they believe they can pressurize you and try to bend you to think the way they want you to think. And you just tell them, no, you're not doing it. That's all you have to tell them, But do we have leaders who will stand up and tell them, we're not doing it? We hear what you say, but we're not going to go that route because that is not constitutionally sound. Unfortunately, too many things have been decided upon. You didn't have any input. I didn't have any input. But we keep hearing them talking about stakeholders. But who are these stakeholders? Who they are discussing things with. I never get any information in advance. I only hear when they then pass it. So they pass it through the House, and then you look the next time, it becomes law after it goes to the Senate and passes on to the Governor General. But nobody really stops to say, is this thing constitutionally sound, yes or no? Then they sometimes come back and change it. They still ain't consult people now. I'm checking with the people. Even when the law about electricity says it's supposed to have public consultation, that doesn't happen. That's not happening now. But you see all kind of entities being formed and people supposedly providing electrical services to the Damien people, particularly on Providence and also in the family yard. No public consultation with the people. And maybe in some rare occasion they may call one meeting. But one meeting is not good enough. Hold on, caller. Don't go nowhere. You stay right there. One meeting is not good enough because some of these things are waiting. The average woman in Bain Town who got them 5 boys, and the man in Foxville with them 6 daughters. He told me he can't find young men. Young men, y'all got to understand. He wants you to marry Bahamian women because he got 6 daughters living in Foxville. He's trying to find husbands for them. Y'all keep killing yourself. What you think? The fellas can take. Call you live on it. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Professor.
Hey, what's up? You're the
Oh,
first one on the line, man.
yeah, I'm early today.
Yeah, but that's good. I appreciate that.
I hope my brother will come on and either contradict or
Yeah,
encourage
I encourage you.
like this.
Well, I think you beat him today now.
Absolutely,
Yeah, you beat
absolutely.
him
As a
today.
matter of fact, I didn't know how early it was
Yeah,
because
okay.
I've been working all day. I
Right.
got a lot of things.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
That is
I
true. Yeah,
come by. I
yeah,
got to walk to some food store. Yes.
yeah. But you notice the Prime Minister told us the cost. One thing that's contributing to the high cost of living in this country is electricity. The Prime Minister said that in his recent remarks. So now, what the government is going to do? I'm looking at the Electricity Act, the new one that they passed, 2024. It says about public consultation and all kind of other things that is supposedly involved. But all I see are some entities that are being set up without any kind of public consultation. They are undermining the very law
Shall
they
we
have put
talk
in
about
place.
electricity? You brought it up.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, power, right?
Yeah, that's the power that, supposed to provide. But he said that is contributing to the high cost of living.
Yes.
And the cost of living is very high in this country.
So, should I take your word uh, in as facts, or should I listen to you as you repeat his foolishness?
I can ask the producer. The producer, you better see if you can find that tape about Frank.
That's what I'd like to
I'll
get
play
at.
it.
But you know
No,
what's been
no,
going
I
on?
got him to play it. I'll ask him to
You
play
know
it.
what's been going on with the Bahamas right now?
Yeah.
A handful of sun anybody could just pick up and make $1 million with it.
Handful of sand. Okay.
A handful of sun, you and me.
Yeah,
But you go touch us right now. You go get a bucket and try to pick them off the speaker for commercial purposes,
yeah,
or even social, whatever, your own personal.
yes.
That's against the law.
Yeah, I understood that. Yeah, I think you have a
You
point
don't
there.
know that, sir.
No, no, I am not disagreeing with you. I'm not
Sun is so
disagreeing with you
cheap
at
on
all.
the beach, it's free.
Yeah, it's free. Yeah, they don't
You
have
ever
to pay
try to
for it.
build a house? That's another story. But see,
Yeah,
I don't want to get into that because you invited me into this. Why we suffering in the Bahamas?
yes.
I wasn't even going to stop there.
Okay, all right. But there's a
I,
way. There's a way to change it now.
yes, sir.
I can tell you that much.
Yes. You said there have to be changes.
No, what I'm saying is there's a way to change it. And I don't know. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. That's what I think. This is what.
Absolutely. But so you're governed by people who the Bible, like you say, the Constitution and the Bible preaches about.
Yes,
The rich will never,
yes,
they will never see their fullness of money. That is,
yes,
it's impossible. I agree to distinction.
yes,
And we have a prime minister who is made of that. You remember when they used to say about him? Oh, when you need the money, you know who to go to.
yes,
Okay? And the man was a criminal lawyer. Come on, my God. Families can't see this. If you're a criminal, even Wallace Whitfield, wasn't he a criminal lawyer, defense
I
attorney?
think he was, yes.
Yes, because he got a friend of mine off, and I was glad he did a great job for my friend. But back in 2000 and I don't know 14,
Mhm.
somebody came and killed my friend who we got off because we loved him. He told us he was in the right, and Whitfield. That's not the point. But if you want to talk about why we are so poor right now, Professor, let me tell you something. Here, I was in the bank today, and I met this young guy standing on me, and he said all the things. He said all the things. Immigration taking all my jobs. I'm a young construction worker trying to make, and blah blah blah. I would just admit, everybody is saying that
Yes.
word for word. Okay, and we have a country and our leader who is just ignoring that. He just built 16 houses for these people over here.
I smiled when I heard that, you know.
Yes, yes.
I just smiled. I
And
said,
then in Grandma I want you to do the math on this, do the research. What else houses he gave to the people burned down or in the district with it? But then again, here's Mr. Reese Chipman. He's coming out with inside knowledge. I don't know if you people saw this, right? But Reese Chipman, I could say that because I'm gonna go word his name, but he's advising us that these fires in certain areas are to benefit a certain demographic of people. Not that's like diplomatically, I can say that. But he's saying when you see fires in area, they're clearing out land to be sold. That's my interpretation now. I could be wrong, but I'm going to
okay.
call you back in a couple of weeks and tell you the same thing I told you. Even Mr. Hyler can tell you the same thing. As a matter of fact, Mr. Hyler, his speech is that of the people of Fox Hill. And these
Yeah.
people are cringing in every aspect of our. I know you got to go to break right now. Our civilization and being as famous. And the famous just said they're waiting, or we can get them in. Oh, it may be too late.
That's the danger of
Yes,
moving
sir.
too late because right now we just have too many issues that are putting a lot of pressure on Bahamians.
Rent gonna be too late this year. It's up to the landlord to put you out. But you did it before. And if you're doing it now, like you said the other day, we're down to junk.
Yeah, we are young. There's no doubt about that. I can't see the government, well, I heard the Prime Minister he looks at it in a different way from the way I'm looking at it. But if the man consider your money down,
Well, the prime minister is a
it's
billionaire
weightless.
by now.
It's weightless.
I am not. I am not trying to splurge or cast judgment on the prime minister. But if you do his math of the money he had when he went in to the state under the circumstances he said to be prime minister, the man is a gazillionaire, ready to buy the Bahamas right now.
Well, let's put it this way. I would like to see the Bahamian people taken objective view of what's going on in the country.
Professor, let me stop you real quick, and I know you got to go to the breath or to a break, but I got to tell you this right now. Every time I hear you on this show, I always see you talking to us a certain demographic of people I do not understand. Now your plea to me was made clear from you started on my God, the other guy radio station. I know your soul. But for some reason you seem like you're talking to that dude right there in your neighborhood who cannot see what's going on. That's my interpretation of you. Because every day you come on Bahamians, you got to do this, you got to do that. I said, Professor, I did that a long time ago. I was on your trip. So you're talking to somebody I don't know. But you got to make that clear who you're talking to now. There's a
Okay,
lot of us out here on board.
All right.
Fire them. And if your cousins or brothers or sisters down there, I talk about personal people because Professor, you said this earlier. You said you don't want people to say, I ain't talking to you no because, listen, I cut off half of my family because of the same reason. They say they are PLPs forever.
Yeah.
I
You will
can
have
die in
people.
10 years. I dying in 10. I 70 now. I got 80 years and I can sit around and watch their soldiers that I watch all of my life.
No,
And
you
I go
don't.
around them.
You don't have.
No way. Okay, Professor.
Okay. Well, thank you for your contribution.
Thank you. I know I'm bored today, but thanks for you for allowing me to.
Yeah, no problem. Okay. If anything that I've said that is not clear, I'm going to make sure that it be clear as crystal because I want you to understand that there are things that we can do as citizens of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. It takes a collective approach, and we have the power in our hands to make the necessary changes that are essential. You just have to know how it can be done constitutionally. That's what's important. The lines are open 326-0271, 326-0272, 813-0271. We'll be back after.
Express Yourself Live will return right after this.
I'm going to tell you what. You need an act, and I'm going to go all out to make sure that happens. This time, you're not going to be left with the down. You're going to be armed with the correct, precise, accurate, and conclusive why made some very bad choices. That is why we're in the predicament we're in today. The government of Bahamas seems to exercise the government authority. How many of you are prepared to do it? We are in a very serious crisis. The high cost of electricity, the high cost of food, people are concerned about tariffs, that we like more there, and there's the trade war between the United States and China. What is being done for us? What is our government doing to ensure the protection? That is what they are doing today. But now, obviously, but they're not making sound decisions. With judgment. You can't just sit back and allow the country to keep sliding down the road of oblivion, because at some point everything is going to fall. So it's incumbent upon you and me to assist those who have been given the There's only one Commonwealth of the Bahamas. There's only one government of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. There's only one legislative branch that passes laws as a legislature in the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. One group of people. The point is, there are things you're going to have to unify around. And I think the best around now is the Constitution. That doesn't stop you from being a member of a political party or even a follower of a political party. You cannot unite the Bahamian people around a political party. That ain't gonna work. You got 58 years to prove it. And even when these political parties put their platform or manifesto, whatever they call it, together, you find when you check the record, and see, Bahamians, that's why you got to go back and check the record. Not a single word about the Constitution of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas or the Holy Bible in any of their documentation. Go and check from both major political parties. Not a single word about the Constitution. That's been going on for 52 years, Bahamians. More than 52 years. You count all the way back from January the 10th, 1967. Yes, the government may have had good intentions. Nothing wrong with that. Yes, the government may have started off on the right foot. Yes, the government may have started on the right foot July the 10th, 1973. But look where we are today. We are so far off as far as the east is from the west, as far as the north is from the south. And all we have today is a multiplicity of major national problems, a multiplicity of major constituency problems. So what are you going to do about that, Bahamians? Do you want to see problems keep piling up, piling up, piling up, and you're getting frustrated? You're worried because there may not be any food in the cupboard when you go home. You're worried about the fact that we may lose tourists coming to the Bahamas. And then you have some others who are saying, join up with the Caribbean, see what you could do to link hands with them, and perhaps that will help you through. But no one is telling you to hold hands with God. That's our problem. God is left out of the picture, the God of the Holy Bible, who has all the answers to all of our problems that we're confronted with today. But we ain't listening to him. That's our problem. Even our religious leaders are not emphasizing the fact that we need to have God in our national affairs, in our constituency affairs, and correcting them when they're wrong. I don't know of any religious leader ever saying to the government where they are wrong and correcting Isaiah 60, verse 1. It says, cry aloud, spare not, lift up your voice like a trumpet. These fellows ain't lifted their voice like no trumpet. And show my people their transgressions and the Bahamian people their sins. Because we're doing all kind of crappy things in this place, Bahamians. You have to point these things out because people just get carried away with lust and greed and selfishness. You got to say, no. You got to stop that foolishness. And so you have the jet ski operators today are being confronted with some problems now because you have people talk about molestation and also rape. Now, I don't know if any of these things were taken before the court and some convictions, but the report is out there. And it puts a bad light on the entire industry. So we have to say to our young men, you have to exercise caution and restraint. I've seen some tourists come into my own area. And I know where they're going, they ain't supposed to be going there. We point them, Bay Street is north, south. And then sometimes they'll turn around and go back. Now, what are they coming into Fort Castle for and going into Mason Dixon for what? Unless they're looking for something they didn't put down. And something happens to a tourist. Either they're bitten by wild dogs. Of course, we ain't got too many wild dogs in here, but you never know. The dog might be hungry. He ain't had nothing to eat today. So you see he's a stranger in the community. And they could be attacked. Then that's another problem again. Say we got wild dogs attacking the tourists. So some of them really are looking for trouble. They're looking for something that they didn't put down. So anytime when I see them heading south, no, you ain't want to go down there. Head back on Bay Street. But that's the problem we have in this country. There are some who will come here for all kind of unsavory things, and then we get blamed if something would have happened to them. But nobody talks about the negative attitudes and behavior of these tourists that come here. Oh, no, that's never mentioned. But you need to talk about it, Bahamians. And you young men ought to exercise caution and restraint not to get caught up in this kind of foolishness, which hurt your business, the jet ski industry, and then, of course, some other things fall out as well. So we get blamed because of some greed being expressed by some people. That doesn't make any sense, Bahamians. So we got to wake up. We have a lot of problems. We don't need additional problems, Bahamians. We need some solutions to problems. And that's what we ought to be working on. Brother Hyla, welcome to Open Line Friday on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. You mind me, I'll talk till Christ come back. You know that.
Good day, Professor.
Yes,
You got to be careful, man, because when you start out like that and say, we don't need more problems, we need solutions.
Yes, we
then
do.
you say, now, welcome, Brother Hyla. the people are going to think you're trying to send a message.
But the man tells me, he said, the last caller said that he believes I'm speaking to a certain democratic, I'm not
a certain demographic.
Demographic, yeah,
Right.
I got it right, not demographic.
Right.
Demographic
Right.
people. Now that's
I
what he's thinking. Now I gotta knock that out of his head because I'm speaking to the Bahamian people
Understood.
on national issues, on constituency issues, and also, of course, international issues that affect us.
Definitely.
And this is Open Line Friday, so the lines are wide open.
Well, please call.
0271. We want you to call
A
in
lot,
Bahamians.
a lot is going on. Please call,
Plenty.
speak up, and speak out.
Yes.
Your voice makes a difference. And,
Big difference.
Sometimes we feel like we're not being heard. I think it was Eleuthera. The protesters in Eleuthera, as I read the article, what stood out to me, they said they feel voiceless.
Yes.
Professor, boy, that sank deep into me.
Now, this is not Eleuthera?
This Eleuthera. I don't know if it's north or south, but they had a
Well,
general protest.
Well, I know
This is
about those
a
protests.
week ago. Yeah,
Okay, a week
a
ago.
little over a
Now,
week.
I got asked the producer if he could find that tape again about
Mhm.
the particular member for Naughty Luther who said he's not going to be running again. I think we have to use that again because he said some cryptic things in there. Now, he talked about the water, he talked about the light.
Mhm.
He said that more could have been done. Now, when I look at a constituency, to me, you can't have the light on today, then tomorrow is off, or this afternoon is off. That doesn't make any
That's what's
sense.
been happening.
Okay, if that's been happening, I'm trying to ask the people, and people in Naughty Luther, please call to the show. I want to know the state of the water in Naughty Luther. Because the man tell me that they haven't had any interruptions for a year. Is that true or false? And also he talked about the light and the water.
Mhm.
Those were two specific things that he
So
mentioned.
why would so many persons from so many settlements in Eleuthera come forward and say they tired?
Well, that's why, that's why we have to understand, and I'm going to ask the producer to play that tape again, because the point is he's saying
Mhm.
he's taking a break.
See, that's what he's saying.
Yeah, that's what he said, yeah.
The Airbnb owners are saying their guests have to be sent to the pump to get water to bed.
Right.
So there are conflicting reports.
There are conflicting reports. That is true.
And
That's
this happened
why
within the same year
right.
that he said they have had consistent water.
So I asked the people as of yesterday, which was April the 10th, I said, as of this day, what is the state of water in Naughty Luther, Southie Luther? They got Central Luther too.
Yes.
Well, okay. North,
Central and South are together.
Central and South are together. Okay. Well, this fellow is supposed to be on the north side. But Eleuthera in general, what is the state of the water in Eleuthera?
And what is the state of the $55 million that was earmarked for the airport in Eleuthera? While you are at, Professor,
Yeah,
while we're
okay.
dealing with the light and the water,
Light and the water.
let's deal with the $55 million that came from the Saudi Arabians. They said in the form of a loan.
Right, that's what I heard.
Where that $55 million is.
That's a good question. Excellent question.
The Saudi Arabians are not known to make empty promises.
No, I understand.
You can't say the same about our local politicians.
Local politicians, yeah. That is a problem. So the people of Naughty Luther and people in Luther in general,
Mhm.
because see, we need to get input from you. You live
Mhm.
on the ground. See, this is why I keep saying that you need to watch what's happening on the
Mhm.
ground in your constituency. And I was telling a young person here before the show came on that basically your representative who sits in the legislative branch and in the House of Assembly and in the Senate, well, basically those in the House, well, the Senate too, because they represent you on two levels, the constituency level and the national level. Now you have what is called this local government form. You don't see that in the Constitution. The Constitution doesn't speak to that. This is something some people crafted, and it just goes to a small minority of the people in this country.
The clip is ready when you're ready, Professor.
Oh, okay. All right. Mr. Producer, put that clip on for us, please.
Fasting, so I just decided to take a break. But definitely within 5 years, I'll be back. Definitely.
Are you proud of your track record against what you would have accomplished in North Luther this term?
We got a lot done. For example, with the Minister of Energy, we were always having issues with the power in Harbour Island, and right now it's been over a year now. We've had no issues with the power at all. With the water, we've been having one or two little problems that we're just fine tuning right now. But I would say with my track record, yeah, we did a lot. I'm pretty much pleased by. I mean, more could be done, and I'm sure after I take my break, I definitely will be back to do more.
I got to smile how these people is talking. Baby, y'all got to listen to these people,
They're good. You got to admit they're good, though, Professor.
They're good at what they're saying.
They're good at what they do.
At what they do, yes. And so, Bahamians in Naughty Luther, I'd like you to call in and please give us the state of affairs on these 2 points, the water and also the light.
Professor, he only spoke to Harbour Island's light, So it could very well be that in the last year, the current was stable in Harbor Island.
But we don't know that.
We
for
don't
sure.
know that for sure.
Because you say they were just demonstrating Harbor Island just recently.
Well, I didn't say Harbor Island, Eleuthera. So notice he chose Harbor Island because maybe Harbor Island was doing better with the light.
But we can't have it like that. He's the representative for the constituency, not just for Harbor Island.
Well, he must have known that he couldn't go back there. I understand he's saying that, he's taking a break.
That's what he claimed.
Well, he must be reading the leaves, as our ancestors would say.
Maybe.
Read the leaves, or the writings on the wall.
See, Bahamians, these are
And
the
one or two issues that are being tweaked with the water. Go
No,
ahead,
that's what
Professor.
he said. Yeah,
That's
he
what
said
he-
the
that's
water
what he
being
said.
tweaked. So what is the state? See, I want to know, and I keep asking this question. What major constituency problems have been solved in Eleuthera? And here are the clear-cut benefits that come to the people of Eleuthera as a result of these major constituency problems having been solved. Bahamians, it doesn't make any sense to have one who's supposed to be representing you, and yet you cannot feel any effect of any major changes on the ground in your particular constituency. Not a little piece of the constituency as a whole. Has anything been done? Has any problem been solved? And this applies to all constituencies, not just North Eleuthera and South Eleuthera.
So on two counts, Professor, I don't know what it is that is going on in Eleuthera in terms of the whole island is on the move. We've heard that for many years now,
Yes.
and it doesn't seem to be government inspired.
Okay.
It's the people. The hard-working people of Eleuthera have pressed, worked hard, built a product that would cause people to want to come back. Government
Yes.
can't do that.
That's true.
People want to go back. The seasonal visitors that they have, as well as
Yes.
new tourists.
Yes.
So they deserve an airport. They deserve a new airport, if I could put it
Yes.
that way.
Okay.
And that's one of the things they are asking for. So what I'm saying is, it's almost like they're being punished. They're not being rewarded. Plus, they have been adding to the treasury because of their
Yes, they have.
productivity.
Productivity. Yes.
There's been a shift in the amount of money that is
being collected.
that is being collected out of
Yes.
Eleuthera.
How do we do it? Yeah.
But it doesn't appear to be going back into Eleuthera, reinvested to stimulate the growth. This is basic fiscal policy. This is just basic. How you manage the tax that you're collecting,
Yeah.
how you spend it to further spur on activity. The actions of the government in regards of their fiscal policy has been counterproductive. It has not been moving in stride with the people. So, that's just my observation. This is Open Line Friday, so
Yeah. That's
I'm
open line.
and this is Express Yourself, so I'm expressing myself based on what I see. We can
Yes.
definitely do better, Professor. No
No,
question.
I think that we can do better. And it takes the people to make sure that the representative in a particular community or a particular constituency, because we're divided into constituencies according to the Constitution. Now, there are some other people who want to do some other things. And I said to that young person I was speaking to before the show came on, that you will have to make changes in the Constitution itself if you want any other form or add a new form of administration to what we now have. People talking about island administration and cities and all that kind of thing. That's not in the Constitution. It just says the Bahamas is divided into 38 or more, and they use the word constituencies. So each constituency has a representative to go in the House of Assembly. And then, of course, you have the upper house, which is appointed as about 16 persons.
Other than the change in the Constitution, Professor, we need a change in our thinking.
No, we do. This is why.
Yeah,
This is
we need
why.
a change in our
If
thinking.
there's going to be any change in the Constitution, any real change to benefit the Bahamian people, then the Bahamian people have to see it differently from the way they've been looking at it in the past. And because 99% of them do not know this Constitution, it is very difficult for them, one, to correct a representative,
Mhm.
number two, to correct the government of the Commonwealth of Bahamas, which has been failing them for the last 52 years.
I don't know if they, well, because of the low voter turnout, I would say yes. There is a shifting attitude among the general public. And I believe the powers that be, they feel it, they know it. And as far as what could be done now, there's one thing to look at what could be done on the governmental side. But Professor, as I look to the US, right, I'm thinking of the protests that's going on in the US,
Yeah.
what they call the hands off protests. Now, President Trump, I don't typically, run off to comment on American affairs, but the Bahamian public as generally, we like America. We love America, really. We've adopted some of our ways that are good, some that are not good, but we are very influenced by America.
That's correct.
Professor, it is my hope that we are influenced by the action that the public, basically the citizenry of America, look at the stance that they took against government action.
Yes.
Why don't we learn from that? Why don't we pick up those things? Eleuthera has picked it up, Grand Bahama, but New Providence, I mean, we are tolerating everything.
To what extent have you seen this in Eleuthera and Grand Bahama to the point where,
Mhm.
see, I'm hearing what you're saying, but I
Mhm.
still have a problem
Hmm.
with the situation because I'm saying to myself, yes, you may have a demonstration. Yes, you may have a situation where there's talk. See, the doctor's still talking, they ain't got nothing solved
Hmm.
yet.
Hmm.
Okay? The nurse is still talking, they ain't got nothing solved yet.
Hmm. The teachers.
The teachers ain't got nothing solved yet.
Mhm.
I am saying to you, where is the pressure to the point where we are prepared to stand up, lock, stock, and barrel and tell the government of Bahamas, we ain't budging down for nothing. Either you fix it now or we stay out. Are we prepared for that kind of action?
Professor, as we go to break, you see what happened when the union took action. The government tell them, go sit down before we jail y'all or fine y'all. That's the action of the government when the people express their legal right to protest not being paid. You can't even say nothing to the government who owe you money.
I coming back to that one. This is Professor Sidney McGarr, Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. Bahamians, there's an open line Friday, 3260271, 3260272, 8130271. We'll be back after the break.
And express yourself. Call in and participate at 326-0271 or 326-0272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and globalradio99.5fm.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. And Bahamians, we got to get right down to brass and tackle when it comes to dealing with issues in this country, because I think we've been skirting around for some 58 years. We got to stop this foolishness. And of course, I'm going to move from where Brother Hyler was talking and Brother Cartwright is here. We're going to get on it. But we have a caller on the line. Call you live on air. Go ahead, please.
Yes. Good afternoon, Professor. Good afternoon, Mr. Hyland, Mr. Cartwright.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Good day.
Let me just say, we have only had two colors in our country, the red and the yellow.
Yes, ma'am.
That's the only two colors we have had. We have a track record by both of these parties.
Yes.
They've been there backward and forward over 50-something years. So when we hear the F&Ms condemning the PLP for what they didn't do, the F&Ms were there and they didn't do it. You understand? So
yes, ma'am.
You got different PLP and F&M personalities, as you call them.
Yes, ma'am.
Coming on the TV and radio. We're going to do this if we get back.
Yes.
And they act as if they've never been there.
That's rather
so the Bahamian people are tired of both parties. Because again, like you say, watch what they say and watch their track record.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I know our country has to be governed by somebody.
That is true.
That's the system.
Yes, ma'am.
We have to have a parliament. We have to have a governing party.
Yes.
Not party per se, but somebody to govern the country.
That's correct, yes.
Okay?
Parliamentary representation.
Now, yes. Now, we don't know about who is trying to get there now in terms of, you can't say they wouldn't do this and they have never been there. We're looking now at individual persons who are running for office this time. Okay. We're looking, as you say, for the Christianity part of it, the constitutional part of it. That's what we're looking for this time.
Yes, ma'am.
Whereas the PLP and the F&M has failed to show us that.
That's correct.
So we're ready to move on from both of them and put new people there who is pledging to let's do something different. Mm-hmm. And I believe we're going to get that this time.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, very good.
Now, I hear Mr. Mitchell talking about Bahamians and trying to get passports, and especially the ones in the States, as he said, we got to be patient. We got to wait. Why do Bahamians have to wait if it is that it's a passport that they're looking for? And other folks could come in with passport in hand.
Yes. That's a good observation.
Now, we have a real problem with that. He also mentioned this week that over 17,000 Haitians have come into the country. They have repatriated about 7,000 and something. Now, he mentioned as of 1973, we know who is Bahamians and who's not. Well, for people who, Haiti, Jamaica, China, wherever they come from, after 73, they've gotten passports. How is that right? And he trying to tell us who's Bahamians. You know, so they try to use the Constitution when they feel like it.
Yes, ma'am.
And then they diss it on the other part of it.
Okay.
You know, we had enough of these folks. And the constituency are now saying, we don't want this person to run. We don't want the next person to run. And that's what we're supposed to do. That's what we're supposed to do. We're telling them now who we want. They're not going to just tell us who they want. So we're buckling up and we're getting ready to go.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you for your contribution, a very valuable contribution that the caller made. Now, Brother Hyla, I think it ties into what you were discussing earlier, so I'm going to let you start off the conversation.
Well, I'll just say quickly, acknowledging that Mr. Cartwright has stepped in as well. I'll just say quickly that, Professor, we are in a situation where when you stand up for your rights, the very person that you are employing as government, they take a strong action and attitude towards you.
Okay.
They're working for you, supposedly. You elected them.
Right.
But when you say to them, for example, I'm a police officer, I have not received payment for COVID-19.
Yes.
I've been patient. I understood that the government has things to deal with.
Right.
But now we're in 2025. Last year, we heard that the country has taken in more money than ever before in its history.
Yeah.
And 2025 there's staggering amounts of money. You don't want any Bahamian to believe that we don't have any money. Just understand that it's not getting to you maybe, but there's a lot of money. So when a uniformed officer or any public servant comes forward and said, we think it's time now, when you now turn around and get the judiciary involved and say, we're going to fine you if you protest, or we're going to jail you. That's very serious, Professor.
I think it is. Yeah.
We're going to jail you if you ask for your money, or if you withhold your labor for 1 day, which is your constitutional right. It's your labor right. And I end with this. Your labor department had to issue the strike certificate.
Yes.
In the case of the union.
And they did get it.
They got a strike certificate. That's a legal document. So you're going to turn around now and say back to work and pull the strike certificate out of my hand? You are subverting justice. You are anti-justice and anti-labor. Clearly.
Why didn't the unions put in an injunction?
Professor, I defer to Mr. Carter, or we do have another call before we can. That's an important question. Why did they not put an injunction or counteract?
Well, that's counteracting.
That would be a counteraction.
Yes.
Why did they? I don't know why they didn't place an injunction, Professor.
Okay. Well, we're gonna explore that. But Conroy, we're gonna bring you on soon. Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please.
Professor.
Hey, what you say?
Pretty man.
How you let your friend beat you this deal?
Boy,
I believe you're sleeping.
no, I just relaxing, you know.
Oh, okay, all right.
What I'm saying, you know, I want to touch on something fair. We live in a time where we get put back fair in our country,
Yes.
in our home, and in the churches. Because you may have laws, but the law is so weak.
Yes, sir.
But people still not fearing.
The law.
Now we come to be putting out cameras on the fellas there move up in the boat.
They're on the jet ski.
The jet ski, because allegedly what happened and stuff like that, and now you're touching. See now, you're touching some of the livelihood of this country.
Yes.
And you're making the whole country look bad.
That is true.
From in New Providence, straight to Inagua, everybody looking bad. You see?
Yes.
How it get like this? How it get like this? The embassies, them, in other words, they have those people who we think everybody is tourists. They walk in the beach and they being and they watching things
Yes.
and they seeing what's going on in our little country.
Okay.
You see? So this is how bad it get now. You got to put now the cameras on the jet skis, them and stuff like that, because it's alleged that they be fooling around with the tourists, them and stuff like that. And when if they get catch, Mama Jazz, you tell them, when you put your laws down, you say, listen here, you fool with, you rape any Bahamian, any tourist, this is 30 years. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But
Yes.
then when you ain't putting no time at the fella, before he go to think about he want to do this, he'll boy, I ain't about it that. 30 years? That don't wait it. But because the law is so weak and this what's happening now, who next you gonna put the cameras on to safeguard the Bahamians or tourists again? Going to the doctors them or the teachers them because we looking for an easy way out. That's what they call it. That's an easy way out, or the immigration department. Put the laws down and carry it out and make that the punishment where it fall. Look at our home. The children them in the home doing what they want to do. The train them 10 and 11 o'clock in the night, they going out, leaving the train them, and they don't tell the parents where they going. The parents them got to get up 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, say they come in an open door. Everybody is doing what they want to do.
Okay.
And so this is the problem, what you got. You see? So now the problem need to be fixed. We need to fix it. And my last point is I told you yesterday, over 220 in San Domingo. You could imagine you dancing and carrying on or whatever,
Yes.
and all you seeing is roof falling down
right down.
on you.
And a lot of people was destroyed.
You understand? 220, and that,
That's a lot.
doctors, lawyers, former baseball players, fellas them who was singing, some of them, they get killed. What an awful picture. Huh? Thank you, Brother Sid.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Let's bring Brother Cartwright in, please. Brother Cartwright.
Yeah, good afternoon, Professor, Mr. Hyler, the producer, and the global audience. You know, I was listening to Mr. Hyler and I listened to Professor, and one of the things that I gathered is that in this country, we look at other countries, and I always said, like I said earlier off air, we are a country of colors more than a country of causes. And people say, well, why you say that? Is because if you notice, whenever a situation hits the country where we have to take a stand, it all comes back down to where people tend to look at their colors more than they look at the cause itself. And when you realize that we see where you have with the unions them made agreements with the administration before they became an elected official. And now that they are not holding up to the end of their bargain as the unions claim, it goes right back to what I'm saying. Many of the unions are now found themselves caught up dealing with more with colors more than causes. Because if you were looking at a cause and someone violate that cause, then you would stand up, you would forget your colors, and you would just stand up and fight for your membership. But when you see that you pause and you tend to give up, it tells you that it has all basically been your whole idea of colors. When you look at our parliament is not supposed to be a place for colors. The colors are at the day when you go to the polls. Once them election polls are completed and the election is over, there's no more colors. It is a term that we see where the media created it. Well, this is a F&M government or a PLP government. But if you look at your constitution, it never mentions a particular, all they said is the party with the majority. And so the party with majority, along with the other members of parliament, they're the ones who are designed and supposed to legislate laws and policies for the betterment. That's what the Constitution always asks you, for the betterment. And when you look at basically what we see now, we are now seeing where parties are not acting in the role of parliamentarians. They are now asking members to pledge loyalties to them instead of to the country. You know, if you started to look at what we've seen happen over the last couple of weeks, we see where the leader of the opposition described that he won't renominate the former prime minister who was a part of his sitting caucus. Then we seen where one member of his caucus decided to move on. And you seeing members in the governing administration decided that two of them decided they're not going to want to rerun. You're seeing where members in the constituency saying, we don't want this particular candidate, but you hear the chairman is saying, well, hey, ain't nobody come forward, so most likely they would send that person back. So we are now moving into a time where the country now is shifting from where people used to just basically accept. Because if you listen to some of the elder former politicians, they are making statements like, okay, in their opinion, they didn't say the people, I helped him get elected. Oh, what he did is wrong. And I was like, but you had your time. If that person decides that this is the move they want to move, you should not hinder them. You should then say, you know what? I understand that's how you feel. And I hope and wish you the best of luck. But you're now having members come out, and I always tell people that a party should not belong to a group of people. If you're a political party, you should have more than just your daily basic core of people who said, it's our party. Because if it's your party, then you run and you vote for yourself.
Exactly.
But when you come to the masses and you want to be in our halls of parliament, then that means it's us. And so when I hear, like Mr. Moore said the other day, oh, well, he chastised Mr. Lewis for his stance. And I was like, that's his God-given right. That's what the Constitution allows. Are you saying that he should not? And then you're looking at it as a party? No, man, he's a member of parliament. You're a former member of parliament. You should not hinder him for whatever choice he wants, whether it's good or bad. You should respect his opinion and respect his view. So from when I look at it, and I was just telling someone, I said, if you look at it, this is probably the weakest parliament we've seen in many, 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 many years. We have an opposition that is basically imploding. We have an administration hasn't been able to give us accountability of money being spent. When you ask questions, we haven't gotten answers. And so I told someone, I said, you know, at the rate they're going, you can now see the third party now moves into a close second or take the number two spot. But we can see now the opposition as it is now. If they keep it at the rate they're going, they could be a distant third. You know, and so people don't understand that we are at a crossroad in our country where Bahamians, the voters are saying, listen, man, we are tired of the same old, same old. If you want our vote, like the lady said, they're going to ask you these pointing questions, and you must be able to have answers. People don't want to hear, well, the party can do this. No, people want to know, you running for the constituency, what are your input to when you get into parliament that you're going to bring for development for this neighborhood? We the ones you want to know. We want to hear what's your plans for us to give you this representation. And so I hope that all members who put their names in the hats to get into parliament understand that the days of yesteryear politics is over.
Mhm.
And if you don't see that, then you're going to find out in a long and hard way that people are making changes. I just saw in the newspaper the other day in the Family Islands, the PHA is now looking to have the police trained to drive ambulance. And I was
Yes,
like,
I heard that.
how are they now going to now drive ambulance, patrol these islands, when they're going to have time to really do the work that they basically were hired to do?
Right, yes.
You mean to tell me that you don't have personnel in these islands that you could look in? If you want to provide jobs to say, hey, train them to be just drivers and then add more medical staff to work with them. Why would you need them to drive and police?
Yeah.
To me, that's a double dip.
Yes.
And so, when you hear these things, you sit back and you really, really start to question. I was speaking with a friend of mine earlier, and we had this idea of governance. And he said, and I didn't see it from his view until now. And he said, we must admit that the way we govern, it is too city-centric. Means that it's too Nassau-centric. And he said that basically we can now go to a local government but with more teeth. And so I said, well, roughly what are you looking at? He said, well, you could give each one of those constituencies roughly about $10 million, and they should be able to manage that wisely for whatever development they want into their island. And when I said, okay, and I said, but I would like to also add city, I would like to have more of a Senate type of, so you could work with both hands in hand. And I was like, that's a good idea. And so when you now see people are now demanding and asking, this is what we want. And if you do not listen to the people for their demands, the people will send you a message and it'll be loud and clear.
Definitely.
I told a friend yesterday and he said, what are the options for Dr. Menace? I said, well, I can be frank. Either he run as an independent or he retire. Those are the two options. Now, I don't know, I said it'll be a tough uphill battle, but is it me in that position, I would just walk away. I didn't reach the pinnacle. I've served as prime minister of the country. There's nothing in a position higher than that. Everyone else wants to aspire because there's only one thing I've learned in this country. There's only one prime minister at a time.
So interesting, Carl, right? The view of the general public, just as you said it, right? He was a former prime minister. So where else could he go? Now, even in an advisory role, right? Look at how we're looking at this thing. That means even the smaller parties wouldn't even consult the man or have a conversation, just a conversation with him. We are looking at the smaller groups who are saying that they want to do something different. And we're looking at that as that's a bad thing. We're looking at the major parties as strong, regardless of what they have done or the track record, as the caller said. We have the track record, but somehow we are believing, to summarize what I'm saying, we are believing that what is happening is the best we can do.
But okay, go ahead, Brother Cartwright.
But you know something, Brother Hyla, one of the amazing things that I have basically listened to.
Are we better than this, man?
Yes. I said to someone, I said, the former prime minister was the leader of that particular party, the FNL.
Yeah.
And I said, it's amazing that three things that I saw him campaign on leading to his leadership, becoming prime minister. And he never got to accomplish them. Yeah. And I look back and I reflected now, his party under new leadership has not even think of using none of those items. Because I was like, we are now in 2025. Why do we need to have the prime minister decide for us when it's going to be an election?
Right,
why can't we have a fixed date?
A fixed date, yeah.
Secondly, why can't we now have term limits? Why can't we now find out where money is being pumped into these campaigns and where this money is coming from?
Exactly.
So those are three things that would basically give more power to democracy, more transparency.
Right.
Yeah.
And so when I sit in the back and I say, like, you know something, these parties, a lot of times is that when leaders come to the table and comes to the head, and you don't see it like as you see in America or in other countries whereby that if the former leader had some great ideas and he left it and
Right.
got to implement,
Right.
his party, when they come in with new leadership and they win,
Yeah.
they tend to build.
Right.
In the Bahamas, we tend to, no matter who becomes our government,
Right.
if that party lose and the next time that party comes to power, all of their good ideas that they didn't get to accomplish
Thrown away.
got put in the bin.
Yeah.
And I was like, how are we supposed to move forward?
Right.
We can't.
We can't.
Yeah,
Right.
We can't.
I think we got to call up.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
a caller on the line.
Yeah.
Caller, you're live on air. Go ahead, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Thompson.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Hey.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
I'm two of you in the studio, great.
Go ahead.
Hello.
Go ahead, caller.
No, I'm saying two persons in the studio are three.
Three.
It's three.
Oh,
Hyla is here also.
Good afternoon, also.
Good
Yeah,
afternoon.
Mr. Thompson, I got solution, man, for tourism problem. You listening?
Solution to the tourism problem, Professor.
Go ahead.
Go ahead,
The
caller.
solution, man.
Go ahead.
You see, because we trying to run this parallel illegal migration operation with more illegal migrations in this country. We don't know who these people are, who get the jobs, all over paradise and in this country. And some of the possible people, the problem we get illegal people because there's no way in this world that you're gonna person you undocumented, you don't know who they are, but they can have a passport and job over paradise like the key in any other thing business in this country, right?
Yeah.
We're not doing the right thing, the government especially, because guess what? The students labor in Haiti, what they're doing right now, they deporting them. They're deporting them because they see it's happening with them. Station problem, the big station problem, their problem is that all so running all around the world, they're gonna be, and it's nothing but a dump, and they have their own people causing turmoil. This is all a setup because they will never want to be. They must be everywhere else, and we are accommodating our government. Our government, our tourism product is destroyed because our government would not put its foot down to get rid of illegal migrants, especially the illegal copy and the illegal what they call that, the children. Okay, that's our problem.
Okay, now,
Everywhere in the world, they're deporting these people who don't belong in the country.
okay.
They shouldn't belong here. They're not Bahamian. Why is it that we got in New York? Because look at all the birth, more birth patients in this country than Bahamian. Long time, right? The government needs to put this down. Whatever new administration come in, the county see up here, because they already proved over and over again that they always protected the same problem and cause our tourism problem to fail. And guess what? If they don't take it seriously, they're gonna lose it all. For what? Regulation's gonna do? They're gonna go on their merry way and go back someplace else and leave this place just like a dump like Haiti.
Okay, caller. Well, thank you for your contribution. Gentlemen, do you have any comment on that?
Well, caller does have views and he's expressing his view. And I will say on add to that is that any new administration what gets back and to not get back what becomes the new government has to really be serious about immigration.
Yeah.
They can no longer pat themselves on the back and just turn a blind eye. And when I say they have to be serious about it, you got to have solutions because you cannot just say, okay, we repatriate. Now, we've had people who were born here and we've had people who basically follow rules. And I remember speaking with a sitting member of the parliament, or the former member, and he said, you know what is so funny? He said, it isn't really funny. He said, imagine you as someone born in the Bahamas and you were given the opportunity to renounce and you basically did all of that when it was possible. And the government agency, which is immigration, take your documents, and because of their lack of enthusiasm, either misplace it or have the documentation sit there, and basically you find the time run out. And he said there's no recourse for the negligence of the government. And he said, what do you do then? And so it's like, okay, their constitution might have changed, and now, yes, they now cannot renounce. So he said, well, is it their fault that when they put in, they could have done it the right way, but because of the lack of the will of the government of our country, we allow things to happen and stuff like that. So he said, we need to have comprehensive answers to solutions.
Yeah, because
Those who were born here after a certain time when they come to the change, we now have to look at basically some form of permanent residence where we can say, take away that voting aspect. You could basically reside, you can work, you can open an account, but when you're ready and you decide that you had enough, you can leave. Now, you can also turn around and monetize that sector of it, because we know that when people come here and they work, we know there's a lot of money is basically going to the country's remittance. A wise government should look at the aspect of saying, you know what, I'm not going to stop you from sending money out. But here's what we'll do. We allow you your first $1,000 with no penalty. But every penny, every $1,000 after that, you pay an extra fee, because you are now hurting you're not happy, you're hurting my economy a bit by sending money out. So there are ways you can basically work with them and still control the study. And then you turn around and say, you know what, work permits, you only allowed here for a certain period of time, 5 years. In that 5 years, you must train a Bahamian.
okay.
I think we got a call up.
Yeah, another call on.
Okay, call up.
You live on there. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I just had to quickly call back. And I want to say this in reference to our constitution in the Bahamas who are not entitled to our citizenship.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, we are being outnumbered with these children. So not because you were born there, make you a citizen, even at the age of 18 and between 19. Now we need to change upon make an adjustment to our constitution. Now if you are here and you have your child, we're gonna change our child is no Bahamian. Because Bahamian people can't keep up with all the children that's been born in this country. We're struggling, so we're not having children like that. And you look at these other people who can have 2 in 1 year, February and December. So we don't want to give them anything, permanent residence, nothing. We got all of this crime. I want to say this. We have never, in this Bahamas, other than these past, let's say, 5 years, had all of the murders in this country. Now, when I was growing up, an accident was big news. A drowning was big news. We grew up listening to our radio, the news coming on 6 o'clock. Everybody sitting around the radio to get what they're going to hear. Nobody was shooting anybody. And this shooting is on a daily basis now. Because we got all of these people with these mixed up blood and everything else. This is not the Bahamian way. Our tourists had no problem coming to the Bahamas. Now, I worked in Grand Bahama for years. And I know husbands that send their wives girl trips, and they knew they would be safe. That's the relationship with our tourists. Now, this past 5 to 6 years, and all these people who've been coming in here, we can't vet them at all. But we need our documents. We got to bring grandparents, this and that, to prove who we are. And we were born there. And our parents were born there. Grandparents born there. But we got to show that we are Bahamian. Who are we giving our passports to? Who in Haiti could vet anybody? Who in Jamaica is vetting these people? We don't know nothing but China, but we're giving out all of our passports to these folks. Now, I don't want no residency. I don't want anything. Send them all home. Our country is too small for this. And our corrupt government offices and things, this is craziness. We're over them. Thank you.
Thank you for your contribution. Let me just say this, because it is a very serious matter, and I listen carefully to what the caller had to say. We're going to have leaders in the legislative branch of government to look carefully at all that has been happening. We're going to have to really have a committee of some kind to really examine carefully everything that has been going on from the time we became an independent nation right on up to now. Because some things went down that are not beneficial to the Commonwealth of Bahamas. We cannot constantly adding more and more people to this silly thing about naturalization, which is now currently happening. That is totally unconstitutional. And you cannot make all of these people permanent residents. People who don't even belong here, who can never be naturalized. And not only just the Haitian people, you got Chinese, you got Russians, you got Egyptians, you got people from all these other different nations that are crowding in here. Bahamians, we have very serious problems. And immigration and naturalization, well, they call it naturalization, which is not even legal now, but citizenship and immigration problems are real major problems which we have to deal with. We're going to go to a break with Professor Sidney Thompson on the Global Radio Network. We'll be back after this.
or 3260272. WhatsApp us your concerns on 809-2310. Follow us live on Facebook and Global Radio 99.5FM.com. Express yourself.
This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. This is Open Line Friday. This is the last portion of the show. On Bahamians, we have very serious problems, right with the last call that said. But basically what has happened is the very people whom we have sent to do our national affairs, that's the crux of the problem, Bahamians. We have to choose wisely. We have made some bad decisions in sending people to Parliament to do our national affairs, but never got any real telling results to be helpful to the Bahamian people. We have to fix that. Tyler.
Why I'm interested in these comments that's coming across Facebook.
But put on
Conrad
the-
is going to read them in just a
Yeah.
minute. Let's take the call before anything
We
else.
have a caller
Professor.
now?
Yes, we have a call now.
Caller, you live on air. Go ahead. Mr.
Oh, I
Bruce,
think we
have a call?
lost. Okay. I think we
I'll
lost.
put
him.
the
We can
number.
call back, but I'll read this case number.
Yeah.
We're talking about a case in the Supreme Court that is against the immigration or the lack thereof activity. The case number is 2024 /P as in paradise, U as in umbrella, B as in Bahamas / C as in cherry, O as in orange, N as in Nassau / 00004.
Okay, repeat it.
Okay, that's 2024 / PUB, that's pub /CON, that's con / 00004
Bahamians, we are to prevail upon the Supreme Court of the
of the Bahamas.
United States. Sorry about that. Justice Ian Winder, Supreme Court Justice. We are appealing to him. Use his good office to deal with this case. It's a case relating to citizenship. We believe the authorities have been violating the Constitution from the very beginning with this so-called Bahamas Nationality Act, which was never a law. We put our case out there, and Bahamians, we need to check into this. We want to prevail upon the Supreme Court. We are supposed to be a nation of laws. We want to see this matter dealt with right away, Bahamians. We cannot allow people coming in here, piling up on top of us when they have their own country. We don't need to accept it. So, Bahamians, we're calling on your support to prevail upon the Supreme Court and call them and give them that case number, and let's see where we go from there. Do we have another caller?
Yes.
Caller, you're live on it. Go ahead, please.
Professor Sidney, I'm 2 seconds on you.
Yes, sir.
The lady called just now about Bahamians procreations. We are not having babies because we're not happy. You only like a woman when you're happy. They're happy right now in the Bahamas because of Brave Davis. I'll leave that there.
Wow.
Now, the next point I'm trying to make is that today I saw a display of graduates driving buses up and down Blue Hill Road around Michael's area. I don't know if you guys in that area saw it. But it was horrible. Kids are hanging out of the windows. You talk about we have seatbelt laws. And I'm asking you, sir, travel right by Carmichael Road and Blue Hill Road. And I'm asking you, if you say what percentage of our schools are Haitians, is this the display they're showing us now? And showing us that we got this. I mean, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. And by the way, Bahamians are not having kids because we are not happy. Men need to be happy to be with their women. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your contribution.
You know what he said. I noticed that on my way to the show because I see one of the buses were riding through with kids hanging on. I was like, "Here's the police.
Yes.
How could they allow these
What
children?"
was this? Some sort of school demonstration?
No, I think this is the school closed for the Easter holidays,
Ah.
and you had kids actually in some children supposed to be like junior school were in buses, and I saw one or two buses pass with kids hanging on. It's like, man, where's the law?
Hanging on to the bus itself.
They are sitting in the windows hanging on. And I was
What
like,
kind of crap?
I was like taken aback. So I was like, this really, really is the song said, "Now so God for me." I think that's what they would do.
We know it's all this is supposed to be a solemn time of the year
Yes.
to focus on everything. And everything that we are experiencing is very spiritual. For the first time, even Chief of Police, the former Chief of Police, before he left office, he would have acknowledged that what they are seeing from the police perspective, he said the solutions are spiritual. You heard him speak to it. He said in addition to what they're doing, he said there's a spiritual aspect to this
I agree.
that must be engaged.
Yes.
So in a way, he's trying to say that the church need to do more, or those that don't subscribe to the church, those that have a positive outlook or feel like they're positive, whatever you subscribe to, bring it out, put it forward as to what it is we should be doing.
But it just cannot be any and everything.
It cannot be any and
Either
everything.
it is the Word of God,
Mhm.
the Holy Bible, where we know our mothers and fathers. Because I was right there at the very beginning. They never wanted a nation without God. I got some other funny things in this country that some people are brought in here. They've never been Bahamianized to the Bahamian way of life. If you're going to be a part of this country, then you have to be Bahamianized to the Bahamian way of life. When the children of Israel have any stranger come into their territory, those strangers had to come to the way of life that the Israeli people were doing, the Israelites under Moses were doing. You didn't have all these other funny things going on. Either you conform or you become.
The public, I know the public don't understand that because people further accept what's happening. You cannot come to the Bahamas to become citizenship and then have a flag day for another nation.
I agree.
That see, it's
That's a contradiction.
see, it's not. We're not arguing now. Fight. What we're saying is, you come to become who we are, but you don't come into another nation to be who you are in a different nation. That's two nations in one nation. That's
That's called
confusion.
confusion.
Is a
Confusion.
house divided against itself
Itself
cannot
cannot
stand.
stand.
It is not happening anywhere else on the planet. Please do not bring any type of confusing understanding or language. It's not happening anywhere else on the planet.
Yes,
So it's not right that it happened here.
I
See,
agree.
even the word citizen. Citizen is city, Zen. The Zen means spirit. City, Zen. When you become a citizen, you take on the spirit of the city.
Yeah.
You don't bring another spirit from outside the city. That's something else. I have to study what that is. I don't know what that is. But I know it's not right. But citizenship is all about nationhood, nation building, not retaining your native tongue, not getting involved in anything that's happening in that nation, other than collecting money. And the worst part of it, Professor, if we really, as Bahamians, had understanding, you trying to tell me we would not look at both of these administrations that we've been having back and forth and seeing a degree of treachery? Because what I'm saying is, even as we wind down, is this not treasonous? Is this not selling out your country? What's happening? How are you even having any support left? Professor, the bank is saying Bahamians don't have money in the bank. We don't have much money. We have a very few Bahamians with a lot of money. But the way the nation, whatever little we have, it is being taxed right out of us. We are being taxed into a hole. And I've heard the, one of the leaders in the banking system. We all know he speaks frequently. He said they start to look at other persons when it comes to foreclosures on homes.
Mhm.
They're looking for other customers. Who these other customers are?
That's a good
You know,
question. Go ahead, Brother Carter.
what you said, right? And here's where I always say to persons that when you look at our Constitution and you look at the whole preamble, it tells you based on Christian values
And the
and
rule of law.
rule of law.
That's right.
And then you bring people into your country, and I basically lost with all of the previous administration. In the beginning, they told us that we needed people to work the fields. We're not going to put the Bahamians back in the fields. I said, okay, I'm fine with that. But then as I watched, they keep going and they keep moving the bar further and further. And I said, hold on. You keep bringing all these people. Here's what you can do. The money that you could use for them to house, for them to come here and all of that, you could convert that into payment.
Yes.
He would be gladly to work if you basically make it exciting and a more affordable for him to live. When you look at when they talk, the banks talking about nobody's keeping money in the banks. Well, first you gotta look at what the banks are now doing. Payments used to try to keep money in the bank so they could save and collect interest.
That's right.
Banks are now moving away from you getting into claim. The Bahamian banks are not trying to keep the Bahamian customer because if you were trying to keep the Bahamian customer who lives here, I would have basically thought I would have still said, you know what, man, we can keep our policy of interest
Interest.
or whatever, fix another saving. Because I want to now get the Bahamians, look at it, get them to save.
Right.
Furthermore, when you look at what we call our natural resources and everything, I always say, I've heard members in opposition say, well, they don't believe in you getting anything else. But if the money that you look at the natural resources, and you can basically invest it globally, and you have the surplus of money, why can't you give some of that money? Why don't you give all back to the you can give something back in portions, and then you can use the rest to fund the government, and then you can have the rest of funding that investment. Everybody gets a piece of the pie. But then the problem I see is that the parliament itself, the last 20, 30, 50 years, have not shown a good track record of basically doing what they say they're supposed to do and stick with it. We've had a minister of immigration brag about how many work permits he
Wait
given
a
up.
minute, was given
And I
up.
said, you realize how damaging that is to the Bahamian country you're doing because you keep giving up, and I say bring nothing to the table with it. Because for me personally, if I'm going to grant you my work permit to come in my country, I got to have some strings attached to it.
Exactly.
You got to train for every 1 year you in this country. You must train 5 years. So at the end of your 5 years, you should have trained at least a minimum of 15 behaviors.
Definitely. And put Bahamians first.
Yeah.
See, this generation, right, and I'm not just going to put it on the younger ones, even the middle-aged ones are supposed to know better as Bahamians. It was always Bahamians first. It was always Bahamianization, underpinning, going back to the beginning. That's where we came from. The people delivered the country by supporting the political parties.
Yes.
And look at how the people are being repaid. Because every leader, every leader of every major party knows the history, Professor.
Yeah.
They know where we come from. I won't want to come and say, no, I didn't understand that Bahamians shouldn't come first. I didn't understand that we shouldn't improve the prosperity for Bahamians. Who can come and say that? No, they know from whence we came. And look at this. What's worse, labor, our history is on record. The labor movement is what delivered the government of the Bahamas to these two major parties, the PLP and the then Free PLP, who became the FNM. We don't like to deal with the colors too much. But as Cartwright spoke about the colors, we are more in the colors than in the right and wrong. You know, Cartwright said causes. We want to get into the color than the causes. I would say we are more into party than right or wrong. You trying to tell me you don't know right and wrong? That's what's landed us in trouble. If our color does evil, it's okay. We look the other way and start whistling and keep baking our bread. Mama, you got to stop that.
Yes.
Wrong is wrong. We have to put wrong where wrong is. We have to put right where right is. If a leader is selling out the country from underneath us, we need to put a stop to it and say that is wrong. And we need to do better. Gentlemen, I don't want to end on this note. We are the best little country in the world. We have Aisha Bo going to space in a couple of days, Professor. 3 days, aerospace engineer.
Okay.
We got the fastest woman in the world, Shani Miller. She's still the fastest woman in the world. We have, I just wrote down here, Roman Lang out of Grand Bahama, piloting the largest cruise ship on the planet, the Icon of the Seas. And he's not the only Bahamian. We have other Bahamians piloting that ship. We can do great things.
Yes, we can.
Peter Blair. Professor, we have one of your colleagues, Professor Peter Blair, is at Harvard University. I believe he is still there. This gentleman is producing other doctors. So we have a doctor that is producing doctors for Harvard University around the world. Bahamian. So
yeah, you forget Byron Roll. He used to play football for the NFL, and he just had to go back to school, and he took a medicine. He was, I think, he went to Harvard also.
Okay,
his descendant roots came from out of Bimini.
That's good.
When you look at us
as a whole,
we can do a lot of things, but I think what happened is that when you look at the political arena, all of these parties know the history of how they become from.
Yes,
yeah, they do.
And one of the saddest things that when you look at the administration, rich brags, we for the people, and you now look at what they're doing, it's like, rich people.
Okay,
rich people are doing it for.
Yes, you're right about that. You got to ask what people. Yeah. Professor, we still great. Y'all don't give up. Don't give in. Let's keep pressing. Hold on. Y'all work together. And better days are very close.
Yes.
I wish we had that fixed election day. Like we can tell you exactly how close it would be.
Yeah. But you'll have to see that.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, we have Save the Days coming on at the end of the show. This is Professor Sidney Walter Thompson on the Global Radio Network 99.5 FM. Save the Days will come on promptly at 4 o'clock. Have a pleasant afternoon and pleasant weekend, and we'll see you on Monday.